Welcome to Lift Your Leg. This is Monique Anstee from the Naughty Dog in Victoria, BC, and author of As Your Dog Thinketh.
And Jill Brown from Calgary, Alberta, but actually in Victoria, the bag lady.
Today we have a special guest with us. We have Mia Skogsta here from Finland, who recently wrote the book Let's Speak Dog, and we are going to be discussing some of her book. I met Mia over 10 years ago, and she's totally changed the way I train. She also introduced me to some other amazing dog trainers, Peter and Connie Sherrick. She herself has won worlds twice. She's a phenomenal trainer. She has an online program, which is Inspire Your Dog, and I will attach that link in the notes. And her book is a must get. I'm going to say it's worth every penny. So, Mia, hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
I wanted to ask you, in your book, you're one of the only people that has ever defined praise voices in a way that's teachable for everyone to understand. And in North America, we are so bad and unaware of our voices. So teach us, tell us about your praise voices.
Okay, so I intentionally use 6 different praise voices, and of course, all kinds of mix of them. So one of those voices is I call it potty voice, and that's the way how the the parents talk to a toddler when the toddler first time goes to a pee to a potty, and it's this kind of very happy voice, a goofy voice, which goes like hienosti hyvä, wow, oi. It goes up and down. It's very melodic voice, and it's the idea is to show happiness for the dog and also get the dog to feel happy with himself and delighted, and it's very a good voice for certain kind of dogs who want to will to please and engage with the handler. And then another voice what I'm using is braggy, and braggy is more proud voice. The idea there is to show for the dog that I'm very proud of his achievement. For example, if the dog gets a toy or he does something extraordinary well, and it's more sounding like this, that it can be a bit like a woo girl voice, or it can be more aggressive, a little bit like when we are cheering for our favorite team, like yeah, we are the best, woo, you are my best dog ever. Oh, now my dog is coming actually here, and it also fits for more sensitive dogs, but we have to adjust the voice more, a little more sensitive, so we can do it more like a wow, that is so nice, I'm so proud of you. But nevertheless, it sounds different than the potty voice, because it's more convincing, more, there is always the emotion is pride, what we try to show for the dog. And then the third voice is I have named it amazed praise. And amazed praise is when we are feeling surprise, some positive surprise, and we are like, wow, really, a little bit like this, and we are holding our breath afterwards, and we can connect with this praise voice, a jackpot, something super cool. We can release the dog, give him a toy or give him a lot of food, and the idea is to get the dog staying in the position, super focused during we are praising him. It's only one word, so if we are talking too much, the idea of amazed surprise goes away. And it's really good voice, for example, in situations where we don't want the dog to release himself, we want him to hold a certain position, stay still, and then be super focused even under strong restrictions, and also for very good praise voice for competitions, um, for many kind of dogs. And then I have three more praise voices. The one of them is driving instructor. That is probably the most used praise voice in North America. It sounds like good boy, super. You are driving in the right lane. So it's this kind of very low voice without too much excitement in it. It's also a very useful one. We need to praise our dogs sometimes, like give them the directions, like, oh, you are doing it right like this, but just keep on going. Don't get too excited. We just want you to feel that I'm satisfied what you are doing, but stay calm. So when we want to calm the dog and make him more serene. And then then what the other praise voice is what I'm using is a flirty voice. And flirty sounds flirting. So it's this kind of, oh la la, you are such a nice boy. Where is your toy? I know you want it, but not yet. So it's really, really making me or the toy more intriguing, more exciting for the dog, more exotic voice. And a lot of dogs, they love this voice. So I'm often using this voice before when I show the dog that I have something what he wants. And obviously the dog must want to have toy or want to have some food, but I can make myself more exciting by turning away, hiding the toy, using this flirty tone of voice. And also when the dog has, for example, the toy already in his mouth. So during the game, I don't always just make him more excited, for example, bragging, but I can also make him a little bit more balanced and feeling himself more loved by using this kind of, ooh, what do you have there? I also want to have your toy. So a little bit flirting and playing with the dog like this. And then there is a last one, which is the witch voice, and this is more like a giggling, laughing maliciously when I want to do, and I want to make my dog a little more frustrated, more eager to get something. For example, the dog comes to the toy, but isn't that fast enough what I would like him to be, and then I can pull it away and use this kind of oh, you didn't get it. Ooh, oh, it's available again. And then the dog comes for it, and then comes the bracky voice, like, oh, that was a perfect attack for the toy. However, so all these praise voices, we can adapt them. So we can be the flirty driving instructor sometimes.
I
or
love it.
yeah, so we can mix them, and we have to mix them depending on our dog's personality and the situation where we are using them. So, but these are just giving people the idea what kind of emotions we want to add to our tone of voice. And it's not only the tone of voice, it's also our body language. So for example, when we are flirting or we are bragging, we take the whole body. Or if we are using the amazed phrase, it means our eyes get widened and we are holding the breath. And if we use the flirty voice, we can turn the body away. And again, the dog can really we have to feel that emotion in order to express it to the dogs. So it's not just that we are playing with the voice, but it's the whole emotion what we try to express.
Super description. With of these voices, like if my dog's done something, but I don't want to get him super excited afterwards as I praise him, what
Yeah.
voice should I be using?
Then you should use the driving instructor. So
Okay.
if you want you just to come more calmer, but it depends a little bit on the situation. Even you would like your dog to be calmer and super focused, but if you have a lot of distractions, let's say there is another dog, and you want your dog has just trying to, you know, bark at the other dog. And then you have
Yes.
to tell him that no, don't do that. So normally we would say, okay, use the driving instructor, say him like, oh, that's a nice one, and blah, 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 blah. But if it's very hard for the dog to stay there calm and you are fighting to get his attention to you, directed to you instead of the other dog, sometimes the amazed phrase is better because you can make it like, watch, oi, what, watch, oi. Look at here, because the amaze praise also doesn't make your dog too excited, and then you can reward your dog after that. So it's a little bit depending on the situation. So usually it's
Super.
driving instructor, but sometimes the amazed one.
Okay. Go ahead, Jill.
Oh, I thought you had a number of different questions. Are there any of those voices that you wouldn't use on a particular type of dog?
Absolutely. So if we have, let's say, for example, this witch voice is usually not needed with dogs who are very energetic, very impulsive. Let's say the dog who has like dog who is all the time on the edge and a little bit nervy. So we don't have to make this kind of dog more nervy. And then if we have a dog that is not having much will to please, is more dominant type of dog who pleases only himself and doesn't get anything out of the potty voice. I have had a few dogs like this. who don't get anything out of that. So I would never use this kind of baby talk for them. This, oh, super, wow, oi, because they just look at you and maybe feel insecure or something like, what do you want from them? Or it just makes them more reluctant to work with a human. Somehow, I would say that most of dogs like this voice, but we do have some dogs who don't get anything out of the potty voice.
Okay.
So I would just flirt with them and use the bracky voice, flirty, amazed phrase, all the other repertoire of voices.
Cool. Good.
Super. I'm just trying to find my next question. I'm trying to be organized here. In your book, you were discussing dog types. So there was boisterous Boris, steady Stephen, serene Sally. And can you just explain each one of those to us?
Oh yeah. Well, of course, these are very. We have to understand that as humans, dogs have also much more complex personalities. Inside Serene Sally, which is like in this book, it's described that Serene Sally was very calm dog without much drive, very sensitive dog, not so much impulsivity, not very brave dog either. And inside like Serene Sally, we can have thousands of different types of dogs already, because we can have some dogs who is sensitive and lazy. We can have some dogs who is lazy but actually quite hard, and we can have
Mhm.
dogs who are sensitive but also impulsive, and so on. So there can be a lot of different personality traits that one dog can possess, but these are just the caricatures. So in the book, Serene Sally is a sensitive dog that we have to be more careful with our when we are training this kind of dogs with our body language, that we don't bend over them, we are not too pushy, we are a little bit more sensitive also with our voices, and especially with our hand movements. Everything must be more calm and not so dominant when we are training them, and they usually don't like too much bracking with the big hands or something. They can come afraid of that. And then boisterous Boris was the dog there who was very lively and very energetic dog, had a lot of impulsivity and reacts before he thinks. And so the handler has to always read situations beforehand, be always one step ahead of the dog, and learn to also use more calming praise voices. And in my book I was also describing very much about the body language. We maybe don't talk so much now here about this, but more sequencing the movements, that the handler learns to be very precise, very consequent, very clear with the body language when we train this kind of hyperactive dogs. Then there was Steady Steven, where we need to excite this kind of dog more. He was the more calm and lazy type of dog who has a very solid character, and the handler has to learn to motivate the dog in a right way in order to get him excited to work with the handler and engage with the handler. Yeah, and then we also had there, I think, Roaring Robbie. It was the boisterous Boris brother, who was a bit more aggressive type of dog. so it was also him. Yeah. So the idea was there that Roaring Robbie and boisterous Boris are very similar type of dogs because they were bros. But the handler maybe didn't do so good work with Roaring Robbie, so he became very possessive of his toys and a naughty doggy after not so well implemented training. I think these perhaps were the main characters of the dogs in the book.
Um, what do you pick for your dogs? What type?
For sport dogs, we need
Yes.
more impulsive dogs. So we would take the Roaring Robbie or boisterous Boris, but also a little bit steady Steven. I personally like dogs that drives, but also who have enough self control, like bravery, courage. Goes a little bit
Yes.
hand in hand with impulsivity. So the more, if the dog is very brave dog, usually they have a little bit more lower self-control and higher impulsivity, regarding at least some studies. And I think also generally working dogs are more impulsive, and because they are more explosive dogs. But I would always like to have a little bit this steady Steven mindset in my dog, that if the dogs come too impulsive, they have difficulties to wait and do their work. So we need also dogs who can handle their nerves and control their impulses. So I like to have like a more balanced dog, but with high drives and reasonably good energy level.
Okay. What other dog types come to mind here? Any others?
Well, there are so many different kinds of roaring robbies and boisterous boys is like as a good example are all my Malinois who all have been very different. So when I'm thinking about, for example, my previous dog Inspis, I wouldn't say that he didn't have much energy. So he was more
Hmm.
like steady Steven from his energy level. But on the other way around, his impulse control was more from the roaring Robbie. So he didn't have very good self control, even he had a low energy level. And I think when we think about personality types and different personality traits, we should think about, of course, if the dog is like how brave the dog is, like courage or insecure, like this kind of line. And then the other one is social character. How you call it? My English is maybe not that perfect right now to describe these things, but if the dog is social with people or confident with people or unsocial, insecure, it's also related a little bit, I think, with this courage axel together with insecurity and security. But then there is this self control. If the dog has high impulsivity or if he has a low self control or very good self control and low impulsivity. Then we have this kind of sensation seeking, which is quite interesting personality trait also, that we often talk about humans who are sensation seekers, who like to go to ski to the hills outside the ski center or drive super fast or do some extreme things, jumping from the airplanes or skydiving, these kind of things, seeking adventures. And we also have some dogs and even like other animals like rats or mice who like to do that. and and that is also interesting that the dogs may enjoy these kind of sensations when they are seeking them, and that's very rewarding for them. And some
That's
dogs
all the adrenaline junkies, the terriers, and
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
This kind of like adrenaline junkie type of dogs. So we could have, for example, some kind of adrenaline Andy there as a dog. Maybe that's the one type of dog who should have been described in the book. Because the same dog maybe doesn't have so crazy drives. Can be that he's not so interested in the food, for example, or playing with toys. But he can be super excited just to explore the world and get excitements like that.
Yeah.
And if the same dog has high toy drive or reasonably good food drive, it can be rather enjoyable to train. But if the same dog doesn't have those things, it can be hard to train this dog because it will always have something else better than the handler's toys. But yeah, Adlan and Andy could be the one dog type. And then what other dog types we might could have there? Do you have something in your mind? What you have
Um,
met as your
I
work?
l- I love the addition of Andy. I think you've probably covered it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Um, I have a question though. Can you tell these traits when they are puppies in a litter?
Not always. No, we can see we can get we can see some signs in some
Hmm.
cases, but there can be really dogs that change so much when they leave the breeder. And I have seen so big changes in dogs that I would say that it is not possible to see all the things from the well-being walk. Sometimes we can see the puppies who are showing similar personality traits as a puppy as they do as an adult. But then we also have cases that they really change. So I have seen puppy, for example, I can give you example. There was a litter like long time ago where we had 8 males, and there was one or two successful dog handlers who wanted to have a puppy from this litter. And the other one of them said, pick me up, pick a dog for me. Like he didn't even come to choose himself. He just asked us to pick him a dog who would be most balanced from the whole litter. Just like the dog who is like moving well in different environments, plays well, eats nicely, but doesn't have to be the best player and the most extraordinary puppy. So the most balanced one. And then there was another puppy, another handler who wanted to have a puppy who was the most active, the most energetic. And that puppy was even screaming a little bit when he was biting, like a little bit and pulling a lot, and was like super energetic and really a little bit on the edge. And then the funny fact is that when they were 2 years old, the most balanced puppy was like super high in drive. And he had a little bit issue that he was whining a little bit in the sleeve, but later, the handler was super good, so he was able to make him very balanced, and he became a vice world champion and really successful sport dog. And then the other puppy, who was the screamy one, the most like on the edge of the puppy of the litter, he was very lazy. He was so lazy when he was like super lazy, super calm. When he was 1 year old, and the handler told us that when he even takes a food cup, he's first like stretching himself, on the sofa before he gallops there. Not even gallop, but like a lollops, like to like really slowly coming to eat. But he was like so lazy and like absolutely no drive at all, almost like like what he wanted. So he didn't keep him as a sport dog. But it's very interesting how they changed. So it was like
Did
completely different, yeah.
did the handler, like, was it the handler type that may have changed this in the puppies?
I
Their
don't.
relationship or the dogs themselves?
I think it's maybe more about the dog themselves, because I have also had personally myself some dogs that have changed, like but both directions. I have had a
Yes.
stable puppy who has become more insecure and starting to see all kind of things, and of course I was then able to go somehow over those problems a little bit, but clearly the dog was changing, and I saw that the whole litter, many of the litter mates also did the same. And then I have had some dogs who have been a little bit insecure as a puppy, but when I have kept them and trained them, they have become stronger and stronger every day, and eventually they have been competing in the world championships. You couldn't see anything strange in them anymore. So I don't. I also believe that the handler can affect on that, but also sometimes the personality is not so visible when they are, yeah, 6 weeks old. I think when they are more like 3 months, maybe then you start to see the 3 4 months old more, but 6 week is quite early age. So
Okay.
yeah.
Jill, I cut you off for your question. Go ahead.
If you were picking a dog strictly for competition obedience, what would you be looking at for a type for that?
Just for obedience, not for protection or any other.
Correct. Just obedience.
Well, maybe I'm not the right person to answer for this, because I haven't competed only in competitive obedience personally, but of course I have seen a lot of obedience dogs and coached them. So I think I would, well, first of all, I would do my good. I think I would go for border collie, that's for sure. And I think I would select a puppy from the litter that the parents must have, like, I would like to have a love to have a dog who are energetic, very, but also very good self control. Because nowadays, I think in obedience it's important the dog is not whining and leaking and can control his nerves, but also has like open attitude, enough braveness. So I think I would look still. I would look from the combination that the parents have those qualities, which I would love to have in my puppy. And when I would select the puppy, I think I would still go more for the dog that has like a balanced character, who is confident in different environments, who plays well with me, who likes to engage with me, who eats well. But I think this kind of self confidence, it always pays off, no matter what's the sport, because and also the good solid character, that they are not too nervy, not too extreme, but still I would love to have, of course, a dog who has a lot of drive. So it would be even more important the dog really likes to engage and likes to eat and likes to play. I think the prey drive would also matter a lot for me, and good grips for sure, because for the dumbbells and everything that they like to make a good, yeah. So
Okay.
Yeah, I think I would go very similar actually than the IGP dog. Just I would pick the puppy out from different type of litter. They don't need to have dominance or aggression or strong defense drive or something like this. This would
Right.
be only for IGP dogs. But otherwise, I think I would go for similar character because it's just generally I like social, self-confident dogs.
Okay. Good, good. Yeah, I was gonna say, is there anything that you look for in an IGP that dog that you wouldn't want in a just a competition dog? But you just answered that.
Yeah, and
Perfect.
I think the IGP dogs, it's not so important if the dog likes to so much engage with me. If the dog has like usually the more dominant the dog is, the more better he is for protection. It's not so will to please dog. And I think in obedience that wouldn't matter. So I would go more for the will to please dog there.
Okay.
Next one then. How would you adjust your training for some of these different dog types? So let's just say lazy dog first.
Lazy dog first.
Yeah.
But lazy with good impulse control or low impulse control.
Haha. Do both. You pick which first.
Okay. Yeah. So I think, of course, with lazy dogs, I would try to shape a bit more, or try to get the dog showing more activity towards the handler, so that the dog is like learning to activate me to work. So coming towards, always like moving a little bit towards me, and then I release the dog and throw the food and make sure the puppy wants to learn. He learns to seek, how you say.
He has to initiate, like he's
Yes,
pushing.
so basically making the dog more like activating me. So always
Yes.
first reaction from the dog, and then I react on that, so that I wouldn't be too active by myself. Even it's I also need to move myself, but I will always move afterwards. So I think the lazy dogs also need more inspiring handling. So they need me to show perhaps more emotions, move funny way. Like they need to me also to move more, but first the dog has to move, and then I reward the dog by moving and throwing something and doing funny circus tricks. I think more for this direction. And then if we have this kind of impulsive type of dog who is this kind of boisterous,
Lazy.
boorish type of dog. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Even with lazy dog who has a high, it's not usually visible in the beginning. So when we are still activating them, but who, for example, can be lazy but bark easily. So then we have to take care of situations that even we want our dogs to be active towards us. I would make sure that they don't learn to do it too much out of barking. That they don't learn to use their voice too much, not too
Okay.
vocal. And then we have to realize the situations that if the dog doesn't, usually the problem happens when the dog is not understanding something, and then they start to offer barking or some other behavior like this which we don't want to have. And then I have to manipulate the situation in a way that that the dog maybe using some kind of cues with hands or something with different positions, that the dog most likely will offer that behavior what I want him to offer, and then I can reward him very quickly, but avoiding not too much poor shaping with them, because otherwise we have problems with whining and they get frustrated, and the situation can come also bad, even they would be a little bit lazy dog otherwise. So yeah, so that's the important part, that we have to control the situation more with impulsive dogs, even they would have lazy basic character. And then if we have dogs who are highly energetic dogs and also then I would be more like the kind of, how to say, teacher, game leader, that I'm using more like model learning. I show first something what I want the dog to do, and before the dog has chance to do stupid things, and then I reward the dog from, and rewarding the dog more from focus and from situations where he learns to wait a little moment and sequence those situations very well. If the dog sits super, wait, and then a clear release, and so on. So I would add these focus parts much more quicker for the program, and also rewarding them from being active, but just making sure that they don't learn to get like we don't teach them to be these kind of adrenaline junkies that we are all the
Yeah.
time just like feeding when they show a little bit activity. Otherwise, they will later get disappointed and very disappointed and start to leak and get more whiny if they have learned to get rewarded like too frequently all the time.
Okay.
So a little bit like this. And then if we have this kind of more dominant type of dogs, I think we didn't really this roaring Robbie or something or whatever is the name for that dog type, or we can say yeah, I don't know, dominant Daves. But
Strong, pushy. Yep.
yeah, this kind of dog, and also the dominant dog can be highly energetic, or the dominant dog can be the lazy one, and that
Yes.
also is very different type of dog then. But however, if we have the more dominant dog who is how to say very aware of his position, we have to be very also careful that we don't beg them to work too much, and we let them to be always the ones that they have to think it was their idea. So again, we are training them more like lazy dogs. So that
Okay.
the dog is offering something, we say, wow, that was a great idea, and then rewarding them from that. And in some cases, even some dogs really like when we prevent them to do something, and when they can break the rules they enjoy of that. And then it can be also used a little bit like, for example, holding them from the chest and showing, let's say, a food hand 10 centimeter further, and then when they really want to push over, we release the other hand, and then they want to come very quickly and do, for example, sit under the cue hand, and we can reward them from that. So this can be better way that like sometimes we can use some little things like this with them in order to make them faster, stronger, more active, and so on. But Hannah, what else would be important? Of course, the same is with dominant dogs and with sensitive dogs. That both of these dogs, we have to always make sure that we don't, with our body language, that we never make like when they come close to us, like sitting in front or in the basic positions or somewhere, we don't put too much like physical pressure on them, or we don't start to touch them or pat them to the head or do some uncomfortable touching. When we have more adaptive dogs, more flexible dogs, they don't care. So handlers can be a little more free. So they just kind of tolerate even uncomfortable hands easier. But we have to be more careful with our touching when we train dominant and sensitive dogs, because they don't like it, and then they usually come more reluctant to work with us, or they are avoiding or going away, or yeah, releasing themselves too quick or something, because um, they can connect that, okay, next when the handler first gives me food, then she always touches me in uncomfortable way, so they start to go away, or so. So this is also important.
Any other adjustments you'd be making for training an unsure dog or a nervous dog? They are different, but
Oh yeah. There can be there can be so many different ways how the dog can show the insecurity or nervousness, and in different situations, I think we have to learn from our dogs that what kind of movements, what kind of praise voices fit to different situations and which don't fit, and basically we have to all the time observe how the dog reacts on our voices and movements, and not hysterically, and not getting like nervous about that, but just like with a positive mindset, we say, oh, well, now we can realize that the dog didn't like this or like that, and then we have to all the time adapt it and say, okay, next time I don't do this, or I continue that because this seemed to be something what my dog liked. But about nervous or insecure dogs, what could would be important in a praise voice or just body movements?
both.
Both, yeah, well, both are important. So I think I would perhaps release them more often, so I don't try to keep them in the positions too long time. That the sensitive dog can feel it uncomfortable, and the nervous dog just gets nervy and starts to break the commands, and so they need usually more movements. Did I
Okay.
lose you?
And just like that, our recording is over. My Wi-Fi decided to die and cut Mia off. So we will have her back to continue this, but we're going to let you listen to this one now. So thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next Tuesday.